The following is a call to Chris Sarpong of Global News on September 21st, 2018 at approximately 1:38 in the afternoon.
Hello?
Good afternoon. Is this Chris?
Speaking.
Hi, Chris. This is Renée calling. How are you?
I'm alright. Yourself?
I continue. So, Chris, I'm following up with you because I just learned that there was an announcement made by Global News that you're having a mayoral debate, but I'm wondering why you didn't invite me and what your process was.
So I'm actually not in office today. I'm going to be returning Monday, but if you want to send me an email directly, offhand I'll tell you that in terms of our process, we have an editorial board consisting of several of the folks that are involved in our election coverage. That's both editors and reporters and directors that were involved in the board to decide who we were going to invite to the actual debate. And there's just several criteria that they use to make that decision. Amongst them, in terms of amongst them, certainly polling numbers, popularity of the potential candidate, the viability of their platform. So you need to be somebody that had a platform that that exists first and foremost, and that you're actively trying to promote, whether that be through social media or an internet or grassroots campaign, and then as well. A couple other criteria, certainly one of them being, sort of compliance with what we would deem CBSC or CRTC regulations. So that's certainly not anybody that we would not anybody that we feel perhaps espouses hate speech or anything along those lines that wouldn't be in compliance with our regulatory requirements. But overall, a few of those specific criteria that the editorial board put in to decide who they thought would be apt to invite to the event, and with that in mind, that's how that decision came about. But it's certainly, like I say, if you wanted to contact me directly by email on Monday, I can ensure that some folks from our editorial board kind of see your inquiry and kind of pass along some direct information to you that way.
So you're saying to send you an email, but I am talking to you because your name and number is on the contact information with regards to the media contact and any inquiries, and I have you on the line. So it becomes passive to me to do something when I'm speaking directly to the person I'm wanting to talk with. And moreover, the points that you raised, I'm not sure where it is that you discriminate to say, oh, we're not inviting Renée. Have you reviewed my platform?
Again, I'm not part of the editorial board actually responsible for making that decision, but as far as I'm aware, certainly the breadth of candidates that they went through, I would suspect that they did. But again, I think there's more than a few criteria that went involved in that. I think there was, of course, just the nature of the actual event. There was going to be a sort of a cap at how many people we could possibly invite. We couldn't invite everybody. It's just the nature of it being a broadcast event. So there were some. There were some restrictions on us in that way. So, of course, it would be a lot easier.
No, so here, let me just slow you down for a minute, because I'm just hearing, and please don't take it offensive, I'm very plain speaking and very direct. I'm hearing a lot of sophistry, and this is the question that the public has all the time for media and what it's doing in its role as supposedly an independent body, which we know you're not because you're a privately owned corporation. But the fact of the matter is that you're there to report the news, and that has been failing. And you have not been doing what the CRTC requires of you to do to be inclusive in your broadcast. So I am familiar with the CRTC Act. In fact, I'm the one that pushed for it in 2014 for changes which they still say are not possible to be made, because as long as you guys just mention someone's name, that's sufficient, which I think is a poor poor representation of journalism. And when you're telling me that your board had a decision, well, who is the board? And what polls are you referring to when you're talking about polls? It's the same rhetoric every single time. And I'm not sure if you put Saran in there just because she's a person of color. The way in which this is done makes no sense to me, and I can't hear the foundation other than the words that you're speaking, which again come across as sophistry. So that's why I called to find out, because it says if you have inquiries to contact you to find out really what's going on. And I see if you're the same person that I've looked up online. Are you a black man?
Yes, but
Okay.
I don't see.
Well, you'll hear what I'm going to say when I say it to you. If you're a black man, you're not part of the decision making, but yet you're answering inquiries. How can you answer inquiries that you don't have information about?
Well, as I say to you, I mean, I'm certainly privy to, again, how it came about. Again, like I say, with the editorial board. And I think a large part of the function of my job is just to receive these inquiries and forward them along, based on merit. Of course, anytime you make a decision like this, there's going to be people that aren't going to be particularly pleased with it. And, for that reason, you can know that those sorts of inquiries need to be vetted.
Let's stop again with the sophistry. What I'm talking about right now is that you're the person who's the fall guy for answering questions that you're not prepared to answer because you don't have the information and you happen to be a black guy. So look at the foundations of what you're raising.
Well, I think that's going to be...
The question that I want to know, who makes up the editorial board?
Right. Well, I think at this point, I mean, I'm certainly paying you a courtesy by even, engaging in this conversation
Is
at
that
this
not
point. And I
something
think
you
we're kind of...
can answer as to who makes up the editorial
No, well,
board?
I'm not gonna get into a shouting match with you.
I am actually not
here on the
shouting.
phone.
I'm not shouting.
No,
I
yeah.
don't know why
well,
you're saying
okay,
that.
well,
Are you
we can
shouting?
agree to disagree there.
Are you saying that
No,
you're
I'm
shouting?
not.
Okay, so
But
who makes up the editorial
not what's
board?
gonna happen.
Who makes up the editorial board?
There's several people on our journalistic side of things, again, editors, directors, reporters that were involved in the editorial process. But again, if you want to reach out directly to me via email,
No,
I can send you all this
reaching out to
information
you
come
directly
Monday.
by phone, Chris. That's what I'm trying to identify to you. You had a phone number provided on your inquiries list, and I'm calling the phone number and directly speaking to the individual. So why do we keep turning it around to do something else that I'm already doing that you provided? You provided a number. I've called it.
That's wonderful. Well, if you care to do so, that is great. If not, then...
Here's what I'm hearing, and tell me if I'm correct. It's sounding that you're frustrated, that you're unable to answer the questions that I'm raising. Okay, so I'm glad you clarified that. So when I'm asking you who makes up the editorial board, why can't you provide that information?
Right. Well, what I'm saying to you is, first and foremost, it's the nature of how this conversation has come about. It's clear to me that it's not going to be particularly prudent for me to discuss this with you on the phone. You're just going to divulge into further
I'm not sure what you're saying. The nature of how this came about is that you provided an inquiries number. I called it, and I'm inquiring. So what is the issue that you have with the questions that I'm raising to the person who's supposed to answer inquiries? What is the trouble you're having with that? No, you actually haven't. I asked who makes up the editorial board.
And I said I can send you all that information by email if you wish to contact me through that means. I'm answering this and speaking to you out of a courtesy. I mean, this could have certainly, left this conversation long ago.
Sorry, why are you giving me excuses for what your role is? You're telling me that you're answering my questions, that you're the inquiry person, you're the person whose name and contact number is there, and you're telling me you're answering out of courtesy. I'm not sure what the courtesy is when that's your role.
No, I think, ma'am, once you bring race into a discussion with somebody that you don't even know, I think
what do you mean bring race? What do you mean bring race into it?
Ma'am, as if you didn't address that earlier.
No, I'm asking you your notion, because I'm not understanding why you're saying what you're saying, so that's why I'm asking you. What do you mean by bringing race into it?
No, when you're personally discussing with me and you're saying, are you not a black man, as if that has any relevance on to anything that we're talking about
I gave you the relevance. Did you not understand what I raised with you when I said to you, I actually just asked to confirm who you are so I know who I'm speaking to in identity. I told you very
I'm sure sure
Chris,
that's something
you're not hearing my words, but it sounds to me that you're more interested in...
No, it's not true.
It sounds to me that you're more interested in defending rather than hearing what I'm actually saying. I said to you, I asked to verify who you were as the individual, and then I made a very specific reference to say, here you are as a young black man that they're having you to answer questions that you're not prepared to answer, and you think that I'm saying something different than what I actually said.
No,
I'm very plain speaking.
I just think it's a bizarre thing to say.
Why is it bizarre?
I'm sure that.
Why is it bizarre?
It's just strange.
Why?
Do you qualify everybody? Do you qualify everybody that you speak with on the phone, whether they're, what their race is, how old they are?
I don't think see black as being a race. So perhaps we're starting from a different foundation.
No, but what I'm trying to tell you is that you speak to somebody on the phone and say, just to confirm, are you a white male?
No, I actually didn't say that. You missed the point, and the point was very specific. So I said to you, hey, I looked you up, and I'm wondering if I have the same person. Are you a black male? And you said yes.
You knew you had the correct person. Anyway,
I don't know you. I've never met you before. I called a number. I Googled the name. So either you're able to answer. I'm a black woman. I'm a black woman. So if you knew I'm a black woman. So if you looked me up and knew who I was, you would understand the framework that I'm starting from. So I'm not sure why you're taking such a defensive position. The thing that I asked you was who made up the editorial board. You now identified to me to send you an email, and then you will send me a list of the people who make up the editorial board. I understood that, but the other question that I asked you, which you just gave a generalization about, and I'm hoping that this is not the way you're responding to people when they're making inquiries. I'm a mayoral candidate. I'm certified by the clerk, so I am a viable candidate in this election. And the words that you use to me say to me the same thing that goes on for maintaining white supremacy. It is the same rhetoric Why are you getting offensive by me speaking a truth?
I'm not offended. It's just
well, why are you cutting me off when I say facts? No. I'm saying it to you because you're the person listed here to contact. So when I'm making an inquiry,
that does not mean that I'm somebody that needs to listen to what you're saying when at this point it's completely divulged into an inane conversation. So
I am saying to you, Chris, you said you're going to bring this call to whomever it is that you said you're going to bring this call to.
If you send me via email, I can send you who's a part of the editorial board.
I'm not talking about that. We're beyond that. What I'm saying is, when I'm raising this with you, initially it indicated that you would bring this to the attention of whomever, so it's my call. What else are you bringing to the attention of? And so the call that I'm raising with you, which I record all my conversations just to verify what I said and what I didn't say when someone says something differently. So the point is, Chris, when I'm saying to you that the foundations of white supremacy are being practiced here, where it's dismissive and you're just using people as tokens, is problematic. And so when I'm calling in and you're still jumping, it absolutely is my opinion. Who else is speaking but me? So when I'm giving the points, when I'm
pass it off as a factual basis of anything you're saying,
I'm actually asking you questions that I'm actually asking you questions that you keep deflecting and keep pushing off. And when I'm saying issues that hit home for some reason, I'm not sure why it's hitting home for you when I'm raising issues of white supremacy and they used to perpetuate that within media. But nonetheless, I said it and you seem to get offended by that. And what I'm trying to highlight here, that when you bring it back to whomever you're going to bring this back to, is the same things that I've been putting out there in social media, the same things that I speak publicly anywhere I go, and it's the same things that keep hindering us in being inclusive and progressive as a society and as a collective of people. So when I'm raising this with global news, the irony of the name of the title of an entity, I'm raising it for a good cause.
This is not a platform for you to have to rant or
I'm not ranting. So note that I will make public this communication, and we will leave it to the public to decide whether or not I'm using this as a platform, or am I asking questions of the person whose name is there as the contact person for inquiries, and that the contact person for inquiries deflected on the issues that I raised with him. Thank you for your time, Chris. Have a great afternoon.
Well, that's wonderful. If you want to forward your inquiry via email email. Again,
I gave my inquiry to you. I gave my inquiry to you in person. The only thing you asked me to do is to ask about the editorial board in writing, which is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to take my time again to repeat the same things that I've just said to you on the phone, because it sounds to me that they put you.
I'm just reiterating what it is that how we can clarify this process. That's all. So that's great. If you'd like to, you're going to send me your inquiry via written email, and again, I'll get that information back to you.
No, I gave you the inquiry. You asked me to put it in writing. So you already have it now. You'll have it twice. What you do with that information is on you, but I've raised it with you directly by phone, and I will send it because you asked me to by email, but I will not take my time to reiterate this entire conversation to you when you full well heard me the first time. And nonetheless, you could always rewind it when I put it and publish it online. So there you have it.
That's not what I'm asking you to do.
No, I'm telling you that you would have it nonetheless.
Okay. Well, again, I hope you do have a good day. And again, as I say, we're happy to answer that question for you. It's not something that we're trying to be obtuse about. So we're happy
when you listen to the call, you will understand how obtuse you were. And I've already indicated to wish you a good day. But if you want to say some more, feel free. Is that it? I can hear that you're on the line, Chris. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Oh, no. I was just waiting for you to finish, ma'am.
I was finished, and you were aware that I was finished.
Okay. Well, I'll be leaving you now, just making sure, again, obviously this is a bit of a lengthy conversation, so I just want to make sure that was all cleared up, and I'll look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
I think you've changed your tone now that you're aware that your call is recorded and that I will be publicizing it. I would hope that you would start from a point of listening and addressing issues rather than defending and deflecting when someone calls you the person who's listed as the person to make inquiry with. Thank you, Chris. Have a great weekend. Have a great weekend.
Mm-hmm.